Welcome everybody to episode 16. That's a way to open an episode up.
What here?
Man, what is going on anymore? Our question in life, but it is episode 16. I know this because I just pulled up the podcast to make sure that we had 15 episodes, so I can say we had 16. Everybody is here by the grace of God. Somehow we got everybody in the same room before we started the podcast. We may have had to start 20 minutes late, but it is what it is. We got Mr. Laco with us here today.
What's up, guys?
We got a Logano fan with us today, Austin.
Ciao.
And we got the man, the myth, the legend, Kent.
What's up, fellas?
He uses government name.
That's right.
I use yours too, buddy. They're gonna find you, and they're gonna use. That's the good thing about going back, and I can edit it out. But you know what? I might let Austin edit this whole one because I edited the whole last one myself the last time.
If my laptop works.
Just do it on your tablet. It'll be fine. I'm sure it's got the power.
Let's see.
It's not looking too good. Well, we're going to keep it short here this week, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So, North Wilkesboro truck race, right? What was y'all's overall interpretations of not just the racing itself, broadcast-wise, but just your overall thoughts of the truck race? I was actually there in attendance, so I will leave my opinion out till I get the general perspective from the people that did not buy a ticket.
So I guess that means...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so I thought the broadcast, I thought Blaney did a pretty good job. I think the broadcast did an okay job showing the battles that was going on through the field, which they kind of had to. Time was running away with there for quite a bit, right? But first 50 laps, man, that was a snoozer. But I thought the race, just watch it, I thought it got better as the race went on. It looked like the tires didn't matter as much for the daytime, which I thought was super weird. But I thought the race was okay. It wasn't the best truck race I ever saw. It wasn't the worst one, but I will say I contemplated wearing my Lane Riggs shirt the next day or not. No, I mean, I thought it was an okay race. I don't think it was fantastic, but I don't think it was bad.
I bet you if Lane Riggs won, you'd be like, hey, man, it was a fantastic race. Best race all year.
It would have been an interesting topic. That is for sure.
All right, Kent, go ahead. I heard you had a opinion that you'd like to share.
Yeah, every now and then I have one. No, it was, I didn't see the whole race, but I did see a lot of the highlights there. I had to go back and watch the replay of the end. That was interesting. You know, was it Lane Riggs that he's the one that sent it right there and got into Heim, right?
He was trying to slide job, and he was not clear.
Did he not also nearly wreck Carson Hocevar to try to win?
Si, senor.
Kansas? So, yeah, that's going to have to be something he cuts out. I mean, he's a talented driver. He's got to get a truck. Wins will come. He's going to have to, you know, those desperation heaves are going to have to stop. But no, from the broadcast standpoint, I love it when the drivers participate. Blaney's always good. And here's the thing. When it comes to Jamie Little, I think she is probably one of the single best pit reporters of all time. She is incredible. And that's probably where she needs to be. No hate to Jamie. She has been an incredible part of the broadcasting of NASCAR for a long time. I know she used to be with ESPN and then came over to Fox, and she's done an incredible job. She needs to be around for a very long time. She's got a voice that you recognize and is synonymous with NASCAR. As a play-by-play announcer, I really want to hear a voice with a little bit more authority. I don't know about y'all, but that's the thing. Even though Mike Joy has had his goofy moments lately, when he talks, it's like, okay, you shut up and you listen. He's just got that booming voice. When you hear Jamie Little talk, it's like, no. Don't do that. It's like, no, it's not.
It's like hearing a women pastor.
It's for real though. But here's the thing, and now here's the thing too. Jamie Little's probably as knowledgeable as any person who has ever called a NASCAR race. She has been around it for a long time. She does a great job. but it's just not. Have y'all heard the Oakland A's? I guess they're not Oakland anymore, but the A's announcer.
No.
Some of those clips are AI generated, I will say.
I know some of those clips are AI generated, but if you haven't heard the A's announcer, some of them are, a lot of them are legit, and it's just you'll listen and it's like, oh no, like that doesn't make sense. Why would no, just doesn't have the voice for it. And I think Jamie Little needs to be somewhere else on that broadcast, not necessarily maybe in the booth, but not as the play-by-play. They got to find someone else to do that.
I tell you, somebody who'd be good is that Eric Brennan who does the Cars Tour broadcast. Now, you want to talk about a guy that speaks with authority? He does a great job. I've listened to him a few times, and I could see him time. Y'all never listened.
I just think sometimes it has to do with the overall booth consistency. And towards the end of that race, I know I went back and listened to the highlights because I was obviously at the race, and I heard like they were trying to talk over each other, and that was really that was my main issue. I didn't really have any issues of her per se through the long run of the race, but of course I didn't watch the full race. I watched like the little highlights, and of course they're going to show the best of the best there. So that's kind of where I was at in regards to that. But the race, I mean, the entire race, I was there. It was super boring. It's probably the boringest truck race of the year so far. And it's rare when the truck series doesn't outperform the Cup series. And this was the 1 week that I feel like it hadn't lived up to what it usually is. So the good thing is that Christopher Bell was in the MRN broadcast, and I happened to bring my Charlotte diecast that I just got, and I was able to get him to sign it, so that was worth my ticket price. But otherwise, I could have very much been like, you know what? I would be fine with just not coming back to this race next year. So,
what'd you think of the races? You stayed for those, right?
Yeah, the first heat race, obviously, I mean, it was great. It was fantastic. I feel like all the cars were a lot more equal in speed in that heat race, so that's why you've seen more beating and banging. That second heat race, you had Christopher Bell basically run away with it, which, I mean, showed he had a strong car, but still, clean air is just king at that track, and that's what we saw through the whole entire weekend. It wouldn't matter if it was, a dang go-kart race, it felt like. It's just, if you're clean air, you're an out and about. Either y'all watched the Cars Tour race too, right?
Yeah, I did.
So how was the clean air in that perspective? Were they able to pass as much, or was it kind of the same ordeal?
So the guy led all the laps, but I think there's a variable here. I don't know if that's necessarily a track thing. Rodney Childers just got done at Spire, and he was helping this dude crew chief his car, and this guy led essentially all the laps last week with Rodney's first week, and he came to Wilkesboro and led all the laps. So I don't know for the Cars Tour if that was a track thing. I think you've got a guy who's just he's on the heat right now. But Cars Tour, it took a little bit of a while to get going. They kept wrecking a lot. Which I'm super stoked that series was able to get on Fox Sports 1. I wish it would have been a little bit more of a purist kind of race, if you will, because I started watching like an hour in, and it's like lap 30, right? So, it was an alright race, but that's why I go back to that Eric Brennan. To have Junior and Kevin Harvick in the booth, that dude killed it. Like, he was matching them and trying to, which I know when Harvick and Junior, they're just talking racing, so it's kind of hard to butt in with them, right? But I thought he did a great job with play-by-play, and I had no problems with the broadcast at all on that.
Well, he does it weekly, so it's not like they just plugged him in or anything. He does that. That's his job. So he already knows everything that there is to know about the whole season in general because he's been there broadcasting. So, yeah. So, Austin, kind of to backtrack a little bit, I got kind of flustered when I got disconnected. But What was your personal take in regards to the ending of that truck race? Did you have any opinions? Because I know that you're a Logano fan, so you've seen some instances of people being bumped out of the way, even though it technically wasn't a bump. It was more of just like a riding up the wall kind of deal thing.
Light show.
So, what was your overall perspective of the truck race? And then, I mean, it kind of mirrors the cup race once we get to talk about that too, because it's two similar moves, just a little bit more physicality, I guess, in regards to the cars and trucks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a huge problem with Lane. He was trying to win a race. I mean, he hasn't got a win yet this year. Was it the cleanest move he could have pulled off? No. Should he keep doing that? No. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have a win. He doesn't have a checker flag on his car. He's not locked in. So he's trying his best to try to get a win. That was a Hail Mary for him to try to get there. He had a good car all day, but nobody was on the same page as Heim. Heim was in another zip code than everybody else for a good chunk of that race, and that was a Hail Mary for him to try to get there. And I understand Heim's frustration, so I kind of see both sides of it. Yeah, it didn't bother me. It wasn't as egregious as other moves that we've seen in the past, and even this year in some races just to an extent. So I didn't have a huge issue with it, but probably shouldn't do that moving forward. It's a long season. You got to race with these guys for the second half of the year. Probably best not to do that. Overall, though, I thought the truck race sucked. I mean, it was pretty boring. Honestly, I can't really speak much to the broadcast because I wasn't really paying attention to what they were saying. I know this may be a little controversial, but I just kind of honestly, I kind of tune out Jamie Little whenever she talks. So, and also, having a toddler running around while you're watching TV it's also hard to focus sometimes.
That's valid.
Can't understand the struggle. So, yeah, I can't speak much to the broadcast, but I just know Blaney did okay. I don't think he's my favorite guy in the booth. He can be a little dry sometimes, but overall, the truck race was by far the worst truck race of the year compared to what we've seen throughout the season. So hopefully we get a better showing at Charlotte this weekend.
It's kind of interesting that you do bring up that perspective. So last week you had Riggs make a move on Hocevar, who is known for being a driver they'll do the exact same move to you, So I could see it more as valid game, but when you look at Heim, I mean, there's not many truck racers out there that's more clean racing than Heim on the circuit right now, in all honesty. You don't see him putting anybody into the wall. Usually it's him getting put into the wall.
Well, I was listening to Actions Detrimental, I think, either yesterday or today, and I think Denny had a good point. He said if the competition was better, Heim would have won more races this year because Heim keeps being taken out by engine issues you wouldn't see in a higher level series. Some moves like you saw on Saturday, and then like at Martinsville, I actually thought for the most part Wilkesboro was a little bit better than Martinsville for the most part, or at least for the first half. I remember Martinsville Heim, he's just running away with it until Caden Honeycutt accidentally cuts his tire and sends him, and then it's a brawl from then on out. But he's just had a lot of bad luck to where, I mean, he could have won. I mean, how many truck races have there been already this year? 10.
He could have won 5 of them, in all honesty, so far this year.
7 maybe. I mean, so kind of is. If you're from a purist standpoint, it's like that kind of sucks. But if you're wanting some entertainment, you're kind of glad that not one guy's dominating every single truck race either.
Yeah, I think my main issue is just there was not a lot of passing during the truck race. I mean, Martinsville truck race, there was a ton of passing. We were there. We've seen that.
Yeah.
You compare that to what North Wilkesboro was throughout the whole field, it felt like people were just not moving. There was a little bit of a difference. You were able to watch Kyle Busch, which the broadcast didn't show, and I made sure to mention to these guys is when Kyle Busch was climbing back up to the top of the field before he got into the pits, and Spire did whatever they did in the pits and lost him 5, 6, 7 positions. It was cool to watch him run the high side, kind of like what Chastain was doing during the end of the Cup race. That was kind of the line that he was running. So, I don't know. It just felt like it was an average race, I guess, in all honesty. It's not the worst race ever.
And I think, too, for the truck race, normally, see, this is so first. Everything with I think the Wilkesboro repave is good. I think it's going to get better as the years go by, right? But the repaves, you start out, it's a single line on the bottom, and it works its way up to the top. For Wilkesboro, it's the high line. It's got to work its way down to the bottom, right? And with the truck race, I feel like right when you were about to see some lead changes, the caution came out and you didn't see any. And so it's like the cautions happen at such inopportune times that I think honestly, I think it kind of hurt the racing for the truck race. And especially if you could have seen them go green a little bit more, seeing the strategy with maybe a green flag stop or something, I think it would have added to it for sure. And it was kind of annoying too because trying to run the bottom. And this might be inexperience. They can't do it. After the Cup race, I don't know, but they get such a good run into 3, but the bump that's there off of turn 4, they would lose, what would you say, Cole, at least 1/10 to 2/10 of a second.
Easy.
Now, if they didn't have that bump, they could go in downhill even, and you'd have a lot more pass turn 1 because that turn 4 is really setting your whole lap up. So I think that did hinder the racing for the truck series. It didn't look like it was as big of a deal for Cup. So I don't know if it's experience or if that was a track thing for the trucks. But I think if they meandered that better, it would have been a much better race.
I gotcha. Well, we'll kind of just move on to the Cup race and the All-Star race, but we can also talk about the Open a little bit as well. Just kind of mention kind of what ended up happening with that. That was towards the end of the race. It got really interesting, especially all the strategies that played out. Me and Blake were, of course, at the race, but Austin or Kent, were y'all able to catch the Open broadcast in regards to? Okay, Austin's a no. What about a Kent here?
Yeah, I don't have FS2, so that was a no for me too.
Yeah.
Was the Open on FS2?
Yep.
Oh,
that was not the best move that they did all weekend.
What was on?
Probably not the worst either.
Probably MotoGP.
IndyCar.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, I mean, IndyCar has more viewers, so I mean, it kind of.
They have a third, maybe.
It was IndyCar and the horse race for Preakness.
I could understand Preakness. Well, that's unfortunate.
Blake just said, you know what, IndyCar ain't worth it, but horse racing, now that.
Horse racing?
Oh,
wait, no, my bad.
Popular than car. Outside.
Oh my gosh. I don't even watch IndyCar, but I have a lot of respect for everything that goes on there, and I know it's a big business, so.
Well, especially going this past week, for sure.
Yeah. Especially when Fox has got this new thing. I mean, that they're going to try to milk the crap out of it. I mean, this is a big broadcasting deal. It's a lot of money coming into their doors.
Biggest race of the year coming up this weekend.
Indeed. So, Hocevar and John Hunter raced their way in the Open race. Blake, do you want to talk a little bit about the racing that you've seen overall in the Open race?
Yeah, so I think the guys took it. They took it pretty easy until that lap 50 stop, and then but like Cole said, once lap 50 rolled around, that last part of the race, I thought was pretty good. Because you had a lot of strategy come in. SVG had led the first 50 lap, but then SVG takes 4 tires, and then the other guys like Hocevar and some others take 2, and then they raced for about 25-ish laps. I tell you, back for about 5th on back, it was a dogfight, and that's where, and I say that to say that Riley Herbst and McDowell were going at it. McDowell had gone up to, I think, P2 or P3, and it was looking like he was about to race his way in, but he started to fall off, and he got shuffled back, and Riley Herbst had bumped him, And I watched as he was coming off it too. McDowell, I think, had just had it and retaliated against Herbst, put him into the wall, and then another car comes out with about, I think, 25, 30 to go, something like that. And then that's where you see even more strategy and lots of tire variation. You had Eric Jones, had a nice charge. He was running. I mean, he was dirt thing around the track, and John Hunt way up. I think where he started wasn't a fantastic starting spot, but he was able to make it up, and I'm super stoked for Legacy, and really good to have Spire in an All-Star race too. So I thought the race was good for the Open.
Yeah, I think it's great and all, and of course we had our competition this week, so we were able to kind of have like a little bit more dog in the fight watching it. At one point, the 4 drivers that we picked Bubba Wallace, Hocevar, Ty Gibbs, and who was the other one?
Priest
would have made it in if it wasn't for that choose cone violation.
Can we RIP Priest there?
And then they're like, you know what? After the race, they're like, you know what? We probably should go back and repaint this so people can see it. I'm like, man, why wouldn't you think about doing this before?
I mean, nobody else missed. I mean, look, Colby, the first one to tell you, I was hoping Ryan Priest would win it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can make the excuse all day long, oh, I didn't see it. Well, nobody else had the mistake, you know. I mean, if you're going to be look in the mirror a little bit, you know. So that was because they had lined up. I think it was 1 to go, and we see Priest is having to go down, and we're like, whoa, what? So that added a lot of last-minute race drama.
Yeah. We thought there was honestly a mechanical failure at the time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they came over the speakers like, of course, you know, he had the commitment cone. I think it's commitment line, but I always call it commitment cone because I'm like an old school dirt track late model guy when they put the freaking cone in the middle of the track.
Well, that's what Priest wanted to go do, put a cone right in the middle of it. Did you see that afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, that's very much dirt track-esque, especially where he came from. That's kind of funny. And
well, I think he came from modified, but that's essentially a main thing.
I'm sure he drove dirt before he drove the late models, though.
That's
I mean,
yeah. But,
usually just a natural transition. But I get what you're saying. All right, we'll let Kent and Austin get in here. We'll talk about the All-Star race. We'll talk about the big shalom, the big dealio. All of our drivers were in it. We had Logano, we had Larson, we had Bowman, and we had Byron, all in the All-Star race. Of course, a lot of them secured this through victories. Logano, with his championship, he's automatically got a bid in. So, and then you had Larson win so many races last year. Bowman won Chicago. Byron won a couple of races at the start of the year. Of course, the Daytona 500. So, Austin, I'll throw it to you first. We'll just talk about the general racing overall before we get to the finish, because I know that's going to be the big discussion point. What were your overall interpretations of the racing, especially before, coming into the week we weren't expecting too much? We knew the first race was decent on the old pavement. Then they repaved it, and Logano led every single lap except for one last year. And then you had the racing that we come to see this weekend. What were your overall perspectives on it?
Honestly, it was better than I thought it would be. Still, I don't think it's as good as Rockingham would be. If you're talking about adding tracks onto the schedule for a points race, and tracks that have been resurrected, like Jesus on the third day, amen, hallelujah. But it was a decent race. The passing was okay. They still need. I don't know if it's the track or if it's the car or what, but the fact that Logano and Keselowski were side by side for half the race, it felt like no one could get an advantage over the other. The only thing I could keep thinking was if they just had more horsepower, one of them would clear. One of them would, and so I was kind of frustrated with that first half of the race. Second half of the race, the track starts to cool down, and then we start to see the tires kind of start to make a difference now. Not a big difference, but enough. So overall, like I said, it was better than I thought it would be. but still, I wasn't super impressed with it. The only reason I wouldn't mind it being a points race is because Logano runs well there, and that's the only reason I would be excited for it to be a points race. But maybe Kevin Harvick on the broadcast had a good point. No.
What about you, Kent? What was your overall perspective of just the racing in general? We'll just take the ending out of it for the momentary, a few seconds or minute that you want to talk.
I was impressed with the amount of lanes on that track. When you look at it in person, you really would think to yourself, "Oh, this is probably whoever gets to the inside the quickest has the best shot." But I mean, it's really, and the repave helped a ton with this. That outside lane moves, but if you have enough grip, you can get to the bottom and you can find the drive off. So to Austin's point, it's almost that each lane is too racy. They're not, able to really pull ahead. And I agree. I think what this race lacked was horsepower. But I will say, for the short track races that we've seen in the last 3-4 years, this is one of the best ones because of the amount of just hard racing that you saw, and cars being able to, like Kyle Larson. I mean, I know he used some strategy, but to go from last to first, that was pretty impressive. And so, yeah, I was pretty happy with it. Again, the tires did play a factor when Byron took two, and he got the lead there for a little bit, and it looked like, okay, he's going to pull away a little bit. And, well, not for long. He got reeled back in, and I think dropped back to like fifth or sixth on that run. And so it just showed the importance of having four fresh, tires. But then it also, there was that little, I don't fault Logano for staying out there at the end of the race. I know we'll talk about that end in a moment, but for what he had seen up to that point, he probably thought, if I can get 5 or 6 cars to stay out with me, I'm golden. I've got it won. And he probably would have had it won. But of course, not enough stayed out with him. So it was cool seeing tires be an issue. You put 36 cars on this track, or 40, however many would show up. I feel like you would probably have several open cars show up at this race. You put 36 to 40 cars on this track. You take out the like Austin said, whether it's a gimmick caution, even the stage brake cautions. You take some of that stuff out. You just turn them loose for 400 laps and let the strategy play out. There's going to be enough attrition, I think, because they're driving it so hard. They're going to play with those air pressures and stuff like that. You're going to have incidents. Road is going to be tricky to get on and off of. So you're going to have those pit road incidents where drivers just have that human error. They make mistakes. So I think it needs a points race. The venue is just immaculate, especially for where it came from. An incredible place to watch racing. And I think NASCAR needs to take advantage of the fact that they actually had a short track put on a halfway decent show with this car. I think, what did it get? It got over 80% on the Cluck poll.
83.8.
Yep, 83.8.
Okay. 83.8. There you go. I think it needs a points race. I think you gotta at least try it. And I'm kind of leaving Rockingham out of this. Whether or not Rockingham would be a better race or as good, or whatever the case, I think from what we saw at North Wilkesboro, it deserves a points race next season.
I feel like the Clash should be a better points race than North Wilkesboro, in my opinion. Out of the two short tracks, if I had to choose between those two, that'd be the one that I would probably choose. And I know some people are talking about the All-Star race going to Bowman Gray Stadium. Now they're talking about the All-Star race going to Rockingham. But there's only a certain amount of spots on the schedule that they can remove.
Yeah, but
and of course,
do you think they'll go back to Mexico, though?
I think, like Blake mentioned earlier, I think that taking one of the Bristol races, is a solid consideration. Take the
Well, and you
spring
look at
one
what
away.
they did to Darlington and Atlanta. Both of them lost races because they were not selling enough tickets. And both of them got their races back. And we go to both tracks twice a year now. So maybe Bristol needs that incentive. Maybe that would actually help it one day get that second date again and go. So I just would hate to go all the way until the fall before we finally get to Bristol, but I don't know. Maybe that would just build up
That's
more
when
of
the
the
racing's
intensity.
usually better. You would say, but then you had Bristol in the fall last year, so it's like,
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'll be straight up honest. Cole and I are about 40 minutes from Wilkesboro. I've been on the bring Wilkesboro back for years and years bandwagon. So, I'm just going to be honest with our list. I'm biased and all of it, but I thought when it came to pure raceness, I can't think of another short track where you get something like this when it comes to multiple lanes. When now you got some other factors. It on the tire wear, it was about as best as what it's going to be on a repave. I think they could do a little bit better on that, but I don't want to harp on that. But I think you could easily put Wilkesboro on a points race with. I mean, do we have to have the removal? It's owned by the same people. It's 25-minute difference than going to the track, maybe. And I'll be honest, here's something that now, don't stone me for saying this, but does you look at the crowds at Vegas, do they need 2 races based on the crowds? I mean,
if they get the championship race, they won't have to worry about 2 races. They can just worry about 1.
But because I know when the fall race, especially if the Raiders playing, that place is usually pretty empty. And I hate to say it because that's a 1.5 mile track, and the racing's been pretty good there. But in a world where TV dominates, the Wilkesboro crowd looks better. Now, you say, well, there's 25,000, but ticket sales have mattered for years, really, on the way that it's functioned. And I hate that's the case. That's just the scenario. I'm all for it. I don't think it needs 2 races. So I think you keep it at 1 special. You could honestly take the throwback weekend away from Darlington and just go to Wilkesboro, and that functions as a throwback week track because you walk in and you think, wow, you think Richard Petty, you think Jeff Gordon, 96, you think of Junior Johnson, Ray Henry, all in the pioneer age. That is your throwback weekend, is going to Wilkesboro. And personally, I thought the racing was pretty good. Could it have been better? Yes. But I've seen a lot worse than what put on. And the atmosphere, the crowd was fantastic. Everybody was positive. They're so happy that racing's back. And I think it's just a testament to that core fan. Because I know a lot of people who are mad because NASCAR went away from their roots, and there's still enough of them that when NASCAR came back. I love that track. It's one of my favorites of the year. I think it was I thought it was a great race.
All right, now let's talk about the ending of the race. So we had the Michael Waltrip special here.
The mic drop.
Yeah, literally drops the yellow flag on lap 215, correct? That was the number, and drops the flag onto freaking the racing surface, which is the most Michael Waltrip thing to do in my life I've ever seen. But it put an interesting strategy. It came out at an interesting time because, of course, Larson just scrubbed the wall because he does that at every single racetrack he goes to. We couldn't see it because there's no video board at North Wilkesboro. Even if they could just invest in a little tiny TV screen and put it on the back stretch, that'd be great. Because if you're a fan, you didn't see, if you're in 1 and 2, you didn't see Michael Waltrip at all. We didn't have no freaking clue what was going on. We didn't see the hype up kind of bull crap that was going on. No. We just saw cars going around and around on the track, just wondering when the caution was going to be thrown out.
You saw them fireworks.
Yeah, that's enough to scare somebody.
Oh, honestly.
You have the yellow ones that go off, and then you have ones that rumble behind us. So we seen the ones in front of us, but then we felt the ones behind us, and we're like, what in the world's going on? It's like being in the bad streets of Chicago, man. It was a little scary at first, but then you realize you're in Wilkes County and you're fine.
Durham.
Yeah.
NASCAR drivers can identify that for about 4 corners there when they go to Chicago.
Yeah. But in regards to the finish, with that caution, it came in a very interesting pitting strategy. Now, I know Kent's already kind of alluded to he didn't blame Logano for staying out, but I thought that regardless of what Logano did, they were going to do the opposite anyways. But I would have sure as heck pitted, especially seeing the the tire difference. It was becoming a lot more apparent towards that last bit of the run. And when I seen him stay out, I was like, man. And then I seen Blaney went with him. Of course, Penske teammates, that makes sense. But then everybody else was like, frick that, I'm going to go get some tires. And I was like, well, we're about to see how much tires actually matter. And it showed that at the end they did matter. So it's funny because we got we got multiple perspectives here, but we got two core perspectives here. We got Austin, that is the Logano fan, but a guy that is very middle of the road. He's not super opinionated about being biased or whatnot. He really isn't. You're more biased than he is. Let's just be honest
I don't know
here.
what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
So I'm gonna throw it to Blake first, so we can get the universal perspective. Let's hear it, Blake. What was your overall feelings about the finish? Clean, clean or clean not, whatever. What was your overall just at the end? Let's hear it.
Mind it. I thought it was great. I thought it was great for the fans. I thought the promoter's caution did its job in setting up a good finish. They got a little strung out, and the promoter's caution. Well, I think another caution happened. Then they waited a little bit to throw that promoter's caution, but it set up for something good. And I don't mind the move. I don't think Bell did anything dirty. I mean, it was no Austin Dillon at Richmond. It was no Lane Rigg at Wilkesboro, right? He just moved them up a little bit, and Joey would have done the same thing. And I'm not just going to pick on Joey. I think anybody would have done the same thing. I mean, imagine if Ross would have been up there. I mean, and two, I mean, if you're going for $1 million, I mean, the last thing I want to see a fan is somebody, they'd go single file, be like, oh, let's be in a boy band, let's be respectful. No, bump them a little bit and go on. I had no problem with it. The crowd loved it.
And the crowd indeed did go wild, but
the crowd was hyped.
Majority of the people hate Logano in the crowd, so it kind of makes sense.
Well,
there was a poor woman that was behind us that was a Logano fan, and that's like one of those things about being at the racetrack is everybody's super excited, and then you look and you see that one person that's a fan of that driver, and they're just like, either they're really pissed or they're like genuinely upset. And it's just like, that's a numbing experience. That kind of mirror that. Me and Blake were at the Martinsville race, and we talked about, Heim dominated that race, and we're like, when he wrecked, we were excited because we're like, hey, we're going to get to see somebody else lead. Then we look behind us. There are 5 people in full con Corey Heim gear, like jacket, like polo shirt, like official looking stuff. And we're like, wow, that's a numbing experience right there.
it being at a truck race, they stand out a lot more than just at a cup race.
Yeah, but it's wild. Just
yeah. But
so
I love the end of the right. Good to see them beat and bang a little bit. That's what you want out of an all-star race.
I was excited for the ending. I wasn't excited necessarily about who it happened to, but like obviously if that happened to my driver, I would be upset. If Bowman was somehow leading by the grace of God, somehow, some miracle, But anyways, I would have been genuinely upset. Like I wouldn't have been like upset at Bell. I've been more upset about the caution. I feel like that would be my main gripe as a person. If Bowman was leading at that point and looked like he was going to check out, it's kind of like the way Austin Dillon probably felt in Richmond last year, because at the end of the race he was running away with it. He was clearly going to win the race, and then that caution came out, and of course everything happened after that. But at that point, it seemed like he was going to win. That's what it looked like. Logano was going to check out. If we didn't know this promoter's caution was going to come, unless someone just dumped somebody, is going to be the end of the race. So transition, we will get Austin's perspective and just kind of where his thoughts are overall about the ending of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Bell. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want Logano to dump him there at the end. But, at the end of the day, Bell racing fair. Logano racing fair too. I mean, they're fighting for a win. Logano was in full defense mode and Bell was on attack mode. So I didn't have any issue with how things went down. My issue was with the stupid caution. That's where my issue lies. It's the stupid gimmick caution. old golden boy gets in trouble, and you're okay, got we flag. So that was more so my issue was with the promoter's caution. I knew it was probably going to screw my driver over at some point in time. I was like, if Logano's leading the race, they're throwing it at some point. So I would have liked to have seen how it would have gone, because to be fair, Bell was gaining ground on Logano before that promoter's caution was thrown.
He had
So
like a fourth line there in 3 and 4 to try to really propel downhill there in turn 1.
So I thought that would have been a better finish. Is letting it continue to go green, let Bell run him down, and let it go from there. I think that would have been a better finish overall. But yeah, it's the caution. Caution's the only thing I have a gripe with. I don't have a problem with Bell. And no, Logano said some things in his post race interview, but he's retracted those statements and said that he didn't have a problem with what Bell did. Going back, calming down, and going back and looking at the video, he said he didn't have an issue with what Bell did, and Bell raced him pretty clean, and Logano raced him. I mean, they raced each other fairly clean. I mean, they both were trying to run each other up to the wall, but it was an entertaining finish. And as far as the pit strategy goes, I knew unless a miracle happened, I knew Logano was going to hold off Bell. If it had been anybody else, he probably would have won. But Bell just had a car. I mean, he had a fast car for a good chunk of the night. We all knew he was fast going into this race, so I knew it was over from there. He should have at least taken 2. Probably would have had a better chance of holding him off if he had 2. So.
All right. We'll let Kent jump in here for the last little bit, see if he has anything else he would like to say. Just go ahead, Kent. Let's hear it.
So, I mean, it's no like secret that I'm not a huge Logano fan, but
what?
I'll
Say
admit,
it ain't so.
I'll and I'll admit, if I was in Austin's shoes, I'd be ticked. I mean, it's frustrating to go, hey, look, my favorite driver had the dominant car, has the place figured out better than anyone else, running away with it, and they're gonna throw a manufactured caution for literally no reason other than the entertainment value. But I'm gonna ask you a question to kind of prove a point. Without that caution, does this race get an 80+ percentage vote on the Gluck poll?
I think it would depend, like Austin, because Bale was running down. I think, I mean, he did have a little bit of unpredictability there. I mean, it was going to be tough for him, but he was running them down. So
Yeah, he was only half a second behind him.
yeah, probably.
I'd say be close. It might be more like a 73 than an 83. Because I mean, I think the restarts are the bread and butter of North Wilkesboro. In all honesty, that's where you're going to see most of the moves made. You had Chastain try to take them 3 wide too.
They did 4 wide too.
Yeah, they really bunched up. I say that just to say, for me, that saved it. Had it really been anyone other than William Byron, dominating there at the end, I probably would have. If it had been Larson, I'd have been like, man, let's throw a caution. If it had been, I mean, literally anybody other than William Byron. But y'all can admit too that unless your favorite driver is leading, you're always kind of hoping for that one more caution just to see, like, hey, what would happen? You're always kind of thinking, hey, what would happen if we kind of shook things up a little bit more? And so, when we got that caution, I think it was a foregone conclusion that whoever was leading at the time of that caution probably had very slim chances of actually winning that race. I remember the 2020 Coca-Cola 600 when Chase Elliott had dominated that race, and it came down to a green-white checker. Because Byron had actually spun to bring out the caution. And at the time, I was an Elliott fan. I was ticked. I was like, Byron, keep it together, man. You don't even belong here. Like, anyways. And so it's just, Elliott fans hated to see that caution. Fans of every other driver thought, let's go. And one thing everybody knew was Chase Elliott is not winning this race. He's going to stay out and everyone else will pit, or he's going to pit and everyone else is going to stay out. He's not going to win the race. It's an impossible task. I was so mad at Alan Gustafson because of that call to stay out. But, I mean, you're in a lose-lose. He still drove back up to second, which is crazy. But Keselowski, of course, won that race. But, it was kind of a similar situation to where it was like Logano fans are going to be sad to see him or to see that caution come out because they know it's going to be tough. Fans of every single other driver were stoked. To see Christopher Bell go out there and make a move, I think Logano gets a little nervous anytime he sees a 20 in his rearview mirror. And so,
Just
that
like 24
was,
gets nervous with 22 behind him, right?
I mean,
So,
that's neither here nor there.
I would say so.
Fair.
Logano's got a chrome horn, and he's not afraid to Austin Dillon you if he has to. So, but no, I was excited to see that kind of finish for this race. Christopher Bell did a good job of being aggressive, pushing him around, like getting physical with that pass, but not crossing any line. He didn't put Logano in the fence. I think that's a very clear line. Like you don't fence the competition, right? Like you don't put them in the fence, but you can beat and bang and just see who comes out on top. And, Bell was getting in the corner and he knew that he was going to get tight on exit and he was going to have to just kind of run Logano up the track there a little bit. And he ran him up the track and drove down off the corner and was able to finally clear him. And so that was the only way he was going to be able to make that pass. It's $4 million. There's no trophy for second place. There's no points for just having a good day at the track. So you full send right there. I don't think Bell, the way that Bell drives, I don't think he does that if it's not the All-Star race. But nonetheless, it made for a very exciting finish. Logano's comments after the race, Austin, you said he kind of retracted those statements and he's,
Today.
cooler. Yeah. So that's good to hear because his comments post race, and I know you're just seeing red when you get out of the car, right? Like you're just mad, you're frustrated, you feel like it slipped out of your hands, and you're mad at the world, right? You're mad at the caution, you're mad at everything. Like you probably have a bounty on Michael Waltrip's head, like you're just frustrated and mad at everything.
Head hunting
And
for
so
Michael Waltrip.
tough day for him. But with everything going on, but still for him to say what he did, it was just kind of like, how many times have you been on the other end of this, dude? Like, just let it go. Like, don't run your mouth right now. Just suck it up, take it like a man, and just move on with it. So I was not. I thought he could have gotten out of the car, and I'm not asking him to be happy about it, but for him to go, yeah, that sucked, but you know what? That's racing, But instead, he was like, it's a long season. He's got it coming, that sort of thing. If I could have got back to him, he was going to go around. That was just, well, of course we know he was going to go around if you got back to him. Even if you had passed him clean, he was going to go around. That's just the Logano way. But no, I'm just kidding. All that to say, that caution at the end, for 90% of NASCAR fans, made it a better race. For the Logano fans, it was a huge bummer. Had it been Byron leading at that point, I'd have been hot mad because they talked to, I don't know if y'all listened to the Dale Jr. download. They talk about defensive driving is a stat now, like how good you are on defense. Byron's defense is terrible. Like if he doesn't have quite as good of a car as the driver coming behind him, Logano's really good about man, my car is 86 feet wide. You're not passing me, and he can aero block. He can do all the stuff. Right, his car can be terrible, and he's able to stay out in front. The fact that he stayed out in front of Bella as long as he did, it's just because he's hard to pass. Byron is just kind of like, you get a free position, you get a free position, you get a free. So y'all saw it when Byron took off there on that run when he had the two right side tires. It was like, man, that was sick. He got the lead. All right, he's gonna run away with. Well, he didn't run away with it. It started to fall off, and the driver started to catch up with them, and it wasn't like hey, one of them gets by. So, anyways, had that been Byron, I'd have been frustrated, and 90% of NASCAR fans would still be overjoyed that there was some drama at the end of the race. So some fans were going to be ticked about it. It was always going to be that way. Had it been Chase Elliott leading.
Oh my gosh. The pitchforks.
Do y'all think that there's a caution if Chase Elliott's leading? I think Michael Watchett climbs back down off the pit box.
Yeah.
I think he gets booed off the. He probably gets hit with a beer can.
Nah,
Let's just be real.
He would have just thrown the checker flag. Be like, all right, we're in this thing, Andy.
Yeah, that's right. This is over. Yeah.
Forget the white flag.
Yeah. Promoters checker. Anyways.
See,
Don't give him ideas.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've seen it a lot on social media. People just ragging on Logano and how he races and his post-race comments. But no one said jack when Dale Sr. did the same thing. When Dale Sr. would wreck somebody for a win, I just been around the cage a little bit. I mean, and you know, you have these interviews with Dale where he's getting pissed off at how he was raced, or you know, and you know, he races people the same way. No one gave a crap.
Let's do this though. Let's do this. Let's not compare Joey Logano to Dale Sr. Not now. Probably not ever. I'm just not.
He's got more championships than most people do, so
I'm going to be fair,
especially in the modern
era. For sure.
I'm going to be fair. I think Austin's got a point.
I think he's got a great point.
I don't mind what Logano said at all. Do I agree with it? I'm like, well, you knew it was coming, but it gets people talking. If you got a guy who's pissed off and he's showing it, I was mad he didn't. I was mad he held back a little bit. I'm like, come on, speak your mind. You know, talk about.
I mean,
talk about.
I mean, I'm not saying compare because championships.
I mean,
but Dale he had the whole mantra. He had the personality. He had everything. He had the shades. He had it all. He was able to pull that off because he didn't have a higher pitched voice than I do. And he didn't have, you know, he wasn't a string bean that you thought, you know what, Noah Gragson could probably take him. Like, he just doesn't have one of those statures. Like, he's not intimidating. Like, just his physical stat, like he's tall, but you know, he's not one of those people. You look at him and you go, I'd let him babysit my children. That's Dale. You're like, nah, he's probably gonna give my child whiskey. Like, you can't watch my kids. But with Joe, you're like, yeah, I'd let him watch my kids. Sure. Like, he seems, and then he whines about stuff. Now, he's a great driver. And when he gets physical, 90% of the time, it's legit. And it's great. He just doesn't have the personality for it. And so I think if you're gonna say, well, you got to have, he's missing the personality. A lot of people are. I think Denny Hamlin probably is the closest thing to having that personality right now. But people are just sick of him. Like, people just don't, like, they're not ready for it, and they don't want it to be him because he doesn't have championships to back up his personality. I think if you take Logano's resume, at least with the championships, and then you take maybe a couple of Hamlin's Daytona 500s and his personality, then you have a guy that honestly is probably a really popular dude.
I don't understand, because it's like the most popular drivers in NASCAR, you know, guys that have the personality of whole wheat pasta. Like, it's just
like a
boring
lightly
drivers.
Salted Lay's potato chip. Like the light Lays, you know what I'm saying? Like, not even the regular Lays. Like just
the way white people
Lays.
season their food. Like, it's just boring. But, you know, you get guys out there like Denny and Logano. They're not afraid to speak their mind. They're not afraid to move somebody out of the way to get a race win. You know, the NASCAR needs to get back to the good old days. Like, that's a part of the good old days. It's that bumping and banging style of racing. But heaven forbid someone that doesn't have the number 3 on their car does it, and it's like, how can he do that? So that's just my frustration.
Someone who does have the number 3 on the
Austin Dillon's got the free pass for life, baby. Bump and run, free pass.
I get the frustration for sure. I get it. I just think that people are waiting for the right personality with the right resume to do it. And I don't think that's happened in a very long time. Hamlin, if he had a couple of championships to his name, would be the closest thing to being that guy that could do it. He's got the right personality. Heck, he's got the right resume. He just doesn't have the championships to go with it.
I tell you, if he had some more wins, Ross would be your perfect guy. He resonates probably the most more than anybody does.
Absolutely. He really
is super popular, especially with the Wilkesboro crowd. He went to the Wilkesboro's farmers market for a driver's appearance this weekend.
That's sick.
They used to rent the freaking cars from the local dealers and go, and not, you know, all this booze. Go be with.
In all honesty, though, I grew up a Jeff Gordon fan. Like, Otto's probably closer to Gordon than he is anyone else.
So I was going to say that his personality, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because people said the same thing about Gordon. He's whiny. He's, he doesn't have the intimidator factor. Like, I was a Gordon fan, but I think Joey is honestly more closer to Jeff Gordon's personality, which goes to why people hated Gordon so much.
Yeah. And that's why, if Gordon did something which Gordon didn't, he was able to race pretty clean. He had the bump and run right at Bristol a couple of times where he was able to move Rusty and that sort of thing. But Gordon was pretty much known for being a clean guy who could get the job done. But when he did do those things, when he did ruffle some feathers, it was like, man, Gordon's a dirty driver because he did not have the villain personality. He did not. So
I think
anyways,
I think that Joey is paying for a lot of past sins because he did almost kill.
He had a host of our bringing up on all honesty.
He almost killed Denny at Auto Club. Basically broke his back.
Yeah.
At Auto Club, and had his moments coming up. You have the Kansas moment, and you have those moments decently early in his career. And I think compared to how he used to be, I think he's a lot better as far as racing clean. He still has his moments, but I think he's a lot better than he used to be. But I think that's where a lot of his hatred comes from, is just NASCAR fans, once they lock on to a stigma about you, they ain't letting go of it.
Well, look,
just ask Bubba Wallace.
Well, and look at like you take what Denny and Chase situation in 2017. Man, I feel like it was before people started getting over that.
Alrighty, well, let's wrap this on up, and we'll move on to Charlotte this weekend. It's one of the most exciting weekends racing-wise of the year because you got all three series. You even have the ARCA race going on as well on Fridays.
We got news about that, too.
Well, we kind of introduced the news last week.
Yeah.
But, well, go ahead, Blabbermouth. If you want to go ahead and take it, go right ahead.
No, we'll be on Brayton Laster's 06 car this weekend, so definitely tune into the ARCA race, and we're going to be supporting him and looking forward to that. It's going to be fun getting to advertise a little bit and hopefully increase our exposure.
Maybe we'll have one person listen to this podcast that sees our name on their car.
And
that'd be pretty cool. Maybe. Hypothetically.
Yeah.
That's 1,000% engagement right there.
That's right, man.
It's a direct raise.
Give me a raise.
Boy, I'll start doing some more work. We'll think about it.
Nice.
So, Charlotte, we got the trucks, we got the Xfinity, we got the Cup, and we have a whole bunch of drivers making not necessarily one-off appearances, but ones that they don't usually make concurrently on the lower series. So, for the truck race, we have Brandon Jones in the 1 truck. Stephen Parsons is making another start in the 02 truck. BJ McLeod in the 07 truck. 7 of Kyle Busch will be making back-to-back starts. Of course, he started at North Wilkesboro last week. And now he'll be driving at Charlotte. Ross Chastain in the 44 truck. 56 of Timmy Hill will be making another return. That's Cade's favorite truck driver, so he'll be excited about that. And then Parker Kligerman will be driving the 75 truck, another fan favorite. So you have multiple fan favorites making a trip down to the truck series to run a race. So that will be for the NC Education Lottery 200. For the Xfinity Series, we got the BetMGM M300, and we have Austin Dillon in the 3 car for the Xfinity Series, making a start. The 07 and Nick Lentz, William Byron will be making a start in the 17. Chase Briscoe will be making a start in the 19. Catherine Legg will make another Cup start in the 32, or wherever she qualifies. Number 35, Carson Ware. Number 45, Brad Perez. The 53 hasn't been announced as of yet. The 70 of Leland Honeyman Jr., the 74 of Dawson Cram, and the 91 of C.J. McClellan. And there will be 2 cars that will miss the race, obviously, with that many open drivers. And in the Cup Series, for the historically named Coca-Cola 600 Memorial Day weekend. We have Derek Kraus making a start in the 44. 66 of Josh Bilicki will be making another start. And then we got two drivers. You may have heard this guy before in the 84 car. His name's Jimmy Johnson. He'll be making a start. He'll be making his probably, I think, last scheduled start of the year. So it's a great racetrack for him. I mean, what track was not a great racetrack for Jimmy Johnson in his heyday?
Anything with right
the
turns.
Roval. Yeah. Road course races, they're not real. They're not real. They're fake races. And then in the 87 this week, we will have Connor Zilich making a start in Cup. I mean, it feels kind of punny to say a star-studded weekend, but in all honesty, we have multiple great driver making different starts in different places. So, and then of course they're going to have their regular starts. So, Charlotte's such a historically driven track, especially being based in North Carolina. Going straight into the four-wide segment, it feels almost natural to hand it on over to Mr. Historian. NC State wearing shirt number whatever, Kent will tell you about Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, so Charlotte Motor Speedway opened its doors up in 1960. This mile and a half track is, it's historic, obviously being around for several years. But one thing that is great about this race in particular, the World 600 has always been, the longest race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. And it was debuted in 1960 with the track, and it was, I hope I remember his first name right, but Joe Johnson that won that first World 600 back in 1960 there at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And if y'all want to take a guess what the margin of victory was in the first World 600,
Probably about 7 laps.
that's not a bad guess. Any others? Y'all want to take a hack? Or?
Maybe 33, maybe?
You're going to say 33 laps?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. You got a guess,
I think Austin
Austin?
just returned, so you can...
What was your question?
So what was the margin of victory in the very first World 600?
22.
All right. So Blake's the closest. It was 4 laps. 4 laps was the margin of victory in that first World 600.
So close.
It was very much. It was man versus machine, or man and machine versus track, however you wanted to look at it. You think about these cars back before power steering, any type of air conditioning, and you could get into the argument that the air conditioning now is just less hot air blowing in through those helmets instead of the hot air that's already in there, or whatever the case is. It was a far more difficult task to wheel these vehicles back in this day than it is obviously now. Not to make light of what these drivers do now. The speeds were also a lot slower back then than they are now, but they would attack this track, and it was very much a battle of attrition. It was, hey, let's not really, it wasn't about, hey, do I have the right drive off in the corner? Do I have this? Do I have that? No, it was just, do you think you can finish 400 laps at Charlotte Motor? Sweet. Okay, awesome. Like, let's get you in this thing. And so, not to say that skill or anything like that didn't matter, but the one who won the race back in this day, you knew that he had a team that could build a car that could survive 600 miles of rough, driving. But then he also had a physically fit driver who was able to withstand that himself. It's this time of year in Charlotte is typically, I feel like later on in May, you typically get that last surge of maybe a little bit of cold air in the evening. The last several six that I've been to, it seems like you start off the day kind of burning up with a t-shirt on, and by the end of the night, you're thinking, I could put a jacket on. That's just how it is. That's true. That's true. So probably the best weather I've ever experienced at a Coke 600 was the 2021 Coke 600. They're returning after COVID. It was the first. You were there too, but it was the
Yeah.
first. For some reason, I'm not hearing you.
I said the weather was.
And I think you said the weather was great. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. All right. So yeah, no, the weather was incredible. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. And I took some videos that night of the track. The sunset was just gorgeous. There was not a ton of humidity or anything. It was really awesome. And so, um, you know, it's not been that way every year. The last 2 years, rain has played a factor. Did it play a factor in 22 as well? I wasn't at that race. That one
I
was
don't
one
think
of the
so.
best in history, though. But anyways, 23 and 24, But it's just this this time of year, it's not typically going to be too hot for the driver. They're racing into the night anyways. I'm going to let y'all kind of talk about some of the things that the crew chiefs will have to take into account for in 2025 as opposed to what they had to do in 1960. But the conversation and the strategy is far different than it used to be, but still is one of those tracks where you show up to the venue, you show up to Charlotte Motor Speedway, and they've done a lot to make the facilities feel a lot newer. You get the big screen on the back stretch, the way that they've got things painted up, the way that everything feels about the track. It feels new. It's not new, but it feels like they've done a good job kind of with the time keeping it up. But there's something about the nostalgia of that race that just says, hey, look, they're still going to grind it out for 600 miles, and you're going to have to be tough for that distance for 400 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and see if you can hang in there to the finish. So, yeah, I mean, this has always been a battle of attrition. There were years lately, probably right before the next gen car, that it was not as much a battle of attrition. But even lately, it has kind of gone back to that. So excited to see how that's going to play out this weekend.
Not only is it a battle of attrition for the drivers, it very much is a battle for the fans. It can be a very brutal. The weekend in general can be very hot, in all honesty, especially sitting out most of the day. So make sure you pack plenty of water and sunscreen and
Well,
stuff.
sunscreen for sure.
But yeah, don't be like me. And then we'll throw it to Austin here, and he'll talk a little bit about the track specs and all the interesting features that Charlotte Motor Speedway inhibits with the
Yeah.
racetrack.
Yeah, so, Memorial Day weekend, if you are a fan of all types of racing, this is the weekend for you, let me tell you. If you're an F1 fan, you got Monaco in the morning, which basically whoever wins pole wins the race for that one, because you can't pass at Monaco.
So
And
like North
then,
Wilkesboro. Gotcha.
yeah. And then later in the morning, early afternoon, got the Indy 500. One of the greatest spectacles in racing across the board. And then get a little bit of rest, go fire up the grill, get some hot dogs and burgers cooking, and it's time to watch the Coke 600 for the rest of the night. As long as it doesn't rain. Memorial Day weekend is just a perfect weekend for racing. But, of course, we're talking about the Coke 600. Several things are unique about this race. For one, it is the longest race of the year in terms of mileage. 600 miles, 400 laps, and it is unique in the aspect that there are not 3 stages, but 4. 4 100 lap stages. Which also plays into our pick'em series, because there is the potential, I doubt it will happen, but there's the potential for somebody to get a 7-point day instead of 6 points because of the extra stage that we count. It is a long, grueling race that you have to endure. It's like Kent said, it's a battle of attrition. If you're up front, you don't want to use your car up too much because you want to have something left at the end of the race to try to go for for the win. Charlotte, 1.5 mile long speedway. The corners are basically identical. Turns 1 to 2 and turns 3 and 4 are both 24 degrees in banking. However, I would say that turns 3 and 4 are the trickiest because they can be very slippery later in runs or when the track is green. I remember, the past couple of years we've started off sitting in turn 4 and you watch them come off turn 4. It's slick. They're that bottom is the back of their car is just really fishtailing. Turns 3 to 4 also have a tighter turn radius than turns 1 to 2. So there's a little bit of a difference between 3 and 4 and 1 to 2. The banking is the same. The track hasn't been repaved since 2006, but tire wear isn't as big of a factor as you would think it is compared to some of the 1.5 miles that we run throughout the year. Like, it's nothing compared to like Darlington. But Charlotte does have track wear. It does have tire wear. Tires, you do want tires when you go down pit road, but it doesn't play as big of a factor as it does in some of the other tracks we run throughout the year. The interesting thing about Charlotte is this is a track where you can run any lane, really. I think for the most part, you'll see drivers running right up against the wall. You'll have drivers running at the bottom. You'll have drivers running in the middle. I would say for turns 3 and 4, probably you don't want to be right up against the wall coming off turn 3 and 4 because that entrance into the front stretch is kind of tricky. But anywhere else, it's fair game. Guys that are good here, Larson is usually good here. That one year he was like one or two laps down and ended up coming back and get like a top 10 finish. One year, Hamlin's really good here. This is one of Hamlin's bread and butter tracks. I expect him to be fast this weekend, as long as his engine doesn't grenade on him like it did last time.
Can't pick him. He might be safe.
Yeah, so Hamlin's really good here. Reddick hasn't won here in a while. Has he ever won? He hasn't ever won the 600, has he?
No.
But he is usually top 5. He's usually running in the top 5, so this could be a year where he's due. Kyle Busch, even though he has struggled, with the new car and with RCR, he still usually finds his way around the front at the Coke 600. So the keys to winning this race is first survive. But the thing is I do feel like with it being a 600-mile race, there is a lot of grace that is given to you because if you mess up, you get a speeding penalty first, second stage, you can bounce back from it. You got plenty of time. Plenty of crap happens in this race where you can get that lap back and you can get a good finish. Performing well in the first 3 stages doesn't mean jack either. I think we all remember that race where Martin Truex Jr. led
393.
Yeah, 393 laps of this race and then choked it away at the end. What matters is, does your car endure to the end, and can your driver endure to the end as well? So that's the big thing. It's not going to be super hot this weekend, I believe, which is going to be good for the fans and the drivers. Might not be as significant a chance as weather in weeks past or years past. So hopefully it'll be an enjoyable experience for the fans and be a good race.
Well, Blake, speaking about tire wear, what you got in regards to the tire notes from Goodyear?
Yeah, so if I had to describe Charlotte when it came to tire wear, Charlotte's one of those 1.5 miles. It's starting to get into its golden age of tire wear. Like, it's not like old Atlanta where it's going to be shredded after 25 laps, but it's going to fall off just enough to where you're going to have a lot of comers and goers. You've got 13 sets of tires this week, and they are going to bring the same right sides that they did at Vegas, Homestead, Darlington, Kansas, and Texas. So definitely expecting a lot of wear on the right sides. If you remember, like Larson's right rear tire at Kansas, really running up on the high line, that right rear was almost cording and destroyed. So you're definitely going to have to manage if that run goes super long. With it being Memorial Day weekend, or before I get to that, they are bringing a new combination of left side tires. Right side tires seem to have some decent fall off, but the left side you could still probably run for about 5,000 miles, it seems like. So they're trying to get that a lot softer so that'll help with the tire wear and help with that variation too. And it just plays Charlotte so well, like Austin said. You got so many different lanes, that clean air. You can be in third and still have clean air if the first two are running different lines. definitely add another variable. With it being Memorial Day weekend, they are doing a scheme on the sidewall called Honor and Remember all the fallen veterans on Memorial Day. Such a great patriotic. I know they got Pete Hegseth coming this weekend. I know President Trump came last year. They do a lot of stuff with the military. Very patriotic. So always a fun weekend. For the Xfinity, they got 6 sets for a 200-mile race. Not many. That's going to pretty much be the same tire combination they've had for the last 4 years. Couldn't find many notes for the trucks, but tires are definitely going to matter at Charlotte. Want to take care of it, but you're going to see some guys pushing too, especially towards the end of the race, because you got to survive. But once it's the last 100 laps, you got to go.
Are they going to bring rain tires?
No, even though there is a little bit of a potential for weather, but it's still about 5 days out. You never know with that, so hopefully it'll be all right.
I think the important thing to remember, Honor and Remember, is they're actually a non-profit organization that's based out of Virginia, if I remember right, and
That's right.
That's our whole spiel, is to publicly honor and remember every American service member. And along with the tires, this kind of goes with my thing, is above the windshield of every car, there's usually a name of a passed away veteran, a Marine Corps member, Navy, and it's just a way for NASCAR to support the troops that have fallen and their families and to remember their sacrifices. And it really plays into Memorial Day weekend. But another thing that you do have to consider is a lot of the race shops actually have their fan day on this weekend, because a lot of people come to North Carolina to come watch the Charlotte race. It's the Coke 600 it's not a championship race, but it is one of those races that I would consider to be, a milestone event. People winning the Coke 600 is a big deal. It's not Daytona 500-esque, but it's definitely up there.
It's a crown jewel.
I say it definitely eclipses Indy these days for sure, with the Brickyard. So the way NASCAR's been running the Brickyard, it's not been great. So, but you can go to these fan events and they have signings of all kinds of drivers. I know Spire's actually bringing Kyle Busch along. There's all kinds of events going on. I know Logano's making an appearance at Walmart with I think it's not Bobby Labonte, because he made a appearance at the Walmart up at North Wilkesboro in Wilkes County, but they usually do a rotating veteran and a public driver at Walmart appearances. There's a whole bunch going on, and there's a whole bunch going on in the fan zone. It's probably one of the most going on fan zones. It's not Daytona 500 level, but it's definitely up there compared to what it was at Wilkes County. This weekend, the fan zone's almost small at Wilkes County. You don't have the NASCAR fan experience stage. You just got Ford and your haulers, and they had the Budweiser horses and whatnot, which was really cool to see. But when it comes to Coke 600, they bring out all the stops with the fan zone. So a lot of driver appearances. Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman be making an appearance, and you can find those all on you can find it on Jet Ski's driver appearances page. You can also find it on Coke 600's page. And honestly, if you follow any of your drivers that you support on social media, most of the time they will share their events that they're going to attend weekly. But the coolest thing to me, especially being my grandpa serving in the Army, Memorial Day is always an important day, just as Veterans Day is, just like July 4th is. And it's cool to see not only us gather together to support an amazing event, but also remember all those families that did fall through the passing of a veteran member or multiple family members that were a part of any service. Even, law enforcement, fire departments, to me, they're very much as important as the ones that are serving overseas. So with that, we will move on to our spicy take segment. I think Kent, he hit his because he said that it'd be a fan favorite. The caution would be a fan favorite, which it was because, Logano was leading. So, got that kind of by default. Austin missed his because he predicted that the caution was going to fly at 197. But I believe that the caution is supposed to be thrown around 200 to, 225 or something like that?
220.
Yeah. Blake, what was yours again?
Mine was that Wilkesboro would get 90% or more on a good race on the Jeff Gluck poll.
You were close.
It was about 84%.
Yeah, you're about 5% off. Well, 6%.
I started to say 85, then I'm like, well, let's make it spicier and do 9.
And I know to heck that I didn't hit mine. I don't even remember what it was, but I know I didn't hit it. So, story of my life. All right, Kent, let's hear it. What is your spicy take if you are still here at the microphone?
What's up? I'm still here. Man, spicy take for this weekend. Boy. I'm going to say, this might not be spicy enough. I don't know. Y'all tell me if this works. I'm going to say both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 will be affected by weather. Both races will be affected by weather. Like, I'm not talking about it just happens to rain the day of. I mean, like, it gets moved. It gets delayed to some extent. And then this is going to be the craziest part of my hot take. Kyle Larson completes every single lap of both races.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that's wild. I think that both races, I could see the Indy 500 being run a little bit later in the day, and then the Coke 600 just somehow it gets pushed to Monday or something like that, and he still gets to do both races. So I'm gonna say hot take. Both are affected by the weather, but it works out in Larson's favor, and he completes every lap. So I mean, he finishes on the lead lap in both races.
Dang, you kind of painted yourself in the corner there. You got 3 clauses that's got to hit for you to even be remotely right. So
We're going very very spicy.
Tougher. All right, Austin, let's hear yours.
Average number of cautions for a Coke 600 is around 9 cautions. I'm going to say we're going to have 12. I think we're going to have more than average for cautions.
Gotcha. What about you, Blake?
Cletus gets a top 5 at Charlotte. Is that spot?
Yep. Because he is making a ARCA start this weekend.
Yeah. It was either going to be that or BJ McLeod wins the truck race. But we'll go with Cletus.
I gotcha. All right. I'll say your Coke 600 winner is going to be below the age of 29 and below. We'll go with that. So that rules out most of your players like Larson's 32, Logano's like 50, Hamlin's like 60, and I'm being egregious with those numbers. But all of your veterans, I'm going to say a young gun gets the arms up to the wheel and ends up being able to accomplish a new Coke 600 winner that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, when's the last time you've seen a really young Coke 600?
What is Ryan Blaney?
I feel like he's probably around 29 or 30. He's got to be right there at it.
31 years old. So he was like 20.
He would have been 20.
Yeah. So we consider 29 young, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm almost there, so yeah.
What is it?
Goodness gracious. Alrighty. Well, Austin, I'll let you take over for your segment. You got a lot of work to do this weekend. We got all 3 series.
It's been a while, man.
Yeah.
Just to recap North Wilkesboro's truck race, I came in first place this weekend picking Lane Riggs. Blake came in second with Grant Enfinger. Kent came in third with Daniel Hemrick. And Cole came in last with Kyle Busch. So looking ahead to this week, Cole, you got first pick, my main. You cannot pick Friesen, Chandler Smith, or Kyle Busch. Who are you taking for the truck race?
Give me Ross Chastain, please, in the 44.
All right.
Hey, going to Kubota to victory lane.
Kent, you are up next. You can't pick Heim, Hocevar, or Hemrick.
Man, this is tough. Let's see. Maybe it's not. So you got Chastain.
That's the name of the game, baby.
You know.
Yep, I got Chastain.
I'll be honest, I really want to see McLeod run well in this Spire truck. I think that could be awesome. Give me Kyle Busch.
Isn't the 07 supposed to be the all-star truck? Is that that's what
the 07 doesn't seem to run as good as the 7.
All right, so you're taking Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch.
That's right.
All right. Blake, you can't pick Chandler Smith, William Byron, or Grant Enfinger. Who you got?
Corey Heim.
Okay. And myself.
Austin, this is a slam dunk for you for having fourth place. I know exactly where you're going.
Between two drivers, I can't pick Hocevar, Heim, or Riggs. I'm between Ben Rhodes and Grant Enfinger.
There's an obvious pick.
I gotta go Enfinger.
Yeah.
Gotta go Enfinger.
He's so consistent in Charlotte. It's crazy.
Me. All right, Xfinity. It's been a while, Xfinity. Our last race was Texas 2 weeks ago. Cole finished first with Austin Hill finishing P4. Kent second with Mayer finishing P5. Blake third with Love finishing P7. And then Alligator finishing P35. So I will pick first this week. I cannot pick Mayer. I can't pick Love. I can't pick Chastain. Cole, remind me, are there any Cup guys in Xfinity this week?
Yes, there's Byron's running. Austin Dillon's. You should pick Austin Dillon. Holy crap! This is redemption. This is redemption. I'm pulling it up. So just give me. You got Byron, Dillon, and Briscoe. Those are the three. Briscoe's driving the 19. Austin Dillon's driving the 3.
Hey,
and
don't
William
forget
Byron's
about
driving the
Catherine Legg,
17.
though. I mean, there's her pick right there.
She's the Cup driver, right?
Well, I'll take a Cup guy. Give me Byron. I'll take Byron this week. Let's see. Next up, I already lost my list. Next up is Blake. Blake, you cannot pick Sieg, Hill, or Love.
Give me
Allgaier.
Gator. All right. And next is Kent. Kent, my friend, you cannot pick Brandon Jones, Almirola, or Mayer.
Dang, Brandon Jones is good at this track too.
Somebody's got to do it. You see, I'd be,
You gonna pick Austin?
I know you already picked William Byron, but I'm hesitant to pick that man in anything other than the Cup Series lately. Why not? Austin Dillon.
You got Briscoe. Okay, I was about to say you got Briscoe too.
Briscoe over Dillon.
What? So driving?
Gibbs, 19.
Yeah, Almirola's car.
Yeah, I might have screwed up, guys, to be
Here's the
honest with you. I
contemplation.
probably just dropped the ball. I think I just dropped the ball. Anyways, now here's my reasoning. Y'all hear me out. Austin Dillon, he's a champion in the Xfinity Series, right?
It's the only thing he's ever been good at.
And so
He won the Coke
I
600
think-
before.
And
Well-
then here's, I mean, that was a fluke. When the top 15 run out of gas and it falls in your lap, then you take it. But
That was a great
Austin Dillon, though,
race. I don't really want to
he
hear it.
I think he knows his time behind the wheel is about done. This is an opportunity for him to step into quality equipment at this level. RCR has quality equipment, so I think he's going to put everything he can into this race. I think there's a part of him that's going to be more excited about this race than the Cup race because he feels that little bit of an extra, I could win this thing. At least he thinks so. And you know what? I think so too.
Okay. Cole, Alligator, Poole, Hill. I guess you're taking Briscoe?
No, I'm picking
Okay.
Sammy Smith.
Okay. That's good. He's one of
I know.
the guys that's good here. All right. Looking ahead to Cup, just to recap, this week the only thing that really went down was the All-Star race. We could only pick open drivers. Myself, Blake, and Kent. I picked Priest. Blake picked Bubba. Kent picked Gibbs. None of them made it through the open. Cole did pick Kosovar, and he did make it through the open into the main race, but alas, Hocevar was nowhere close to winning. So we're basing our picks off of this coming week, off of Kansas 2 weekends ago. Cole picked Larson. Larson obviously got the dub at Kansas. Kent picked Bell, which he thought was a mistake, but granted, I mean,
It kind of was, but
it kind of was. It kind of was, but it wasn't. Bell still had a good finish, but he missed out on some points he could have gotten with Larson dominating at Kansas. Blake finished third, with Reddick finishing P17, and I finished last with Hamlin having a grenade in his car at P36. So I will have first pick going into Kansas this weekend. I cannot pick Keselowski, Cindric, or Hamlin. 2 out of 3 of those don't care; they're not available. Looking at a guy that I probably will pick regardless of where he starts. I'm looking at Reddick. I'm looking at Reddick with my first pick. I've kind of been saving him for this race. He's pretty consistent with top 5 finishes at Charlotte, so he's going to be the guy I'm watching this weekend. For the other guys, let's see. Blake, you pick next. You can't pick Blaney, Byron, or Reddick. That's tough. Who are you looking at going into this weekend?
So, somebody I'm looking at going into the weekend, I don't even know if you'd say an underdog at this point. I'd say Josh Berry. He won at Vegas. Very same, kind of same dimensions. A lot of the same tire. He did well at Kansas. I'm looking at Josh Berry.
And
I
he
don't hate
did
that, to be
pretty
honest.
decent. He did decent at Stuart Haas too, I think,
Yeah.
in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a bad.
I don't
That's
hate
not a
that.
bad pick at all. That's stout.
All right, going on to Kent. Kent, this weekend, you cannot pick Logano, Hamlin, or Bell. Who are you looking at this weekend?
Another guy who has a string of top 5 finishes in this race, and also he, I think, probably would have dominated it last year had he not gotten into the wall and messed up his car a little bit. Still finished in the top 5 even with that damage. Probably had some help from the rain. I don't know if long term his car would have been able to hang up there, but I want to go with Mr. Pass in the Grass. Give me William Byron.
Okay. Looking at your boy this weekend.
He didn't let me down last time. We'll see. But he didn't let me down last time.
Cole, you are wrapping it up. You cannot pick Larson, Dinger, or Byron. Who's someone that you are considering for the Coke 600?
I'll give you two. First, I didn't expect the guy that's my second to be available. First, I was considering Bowman. Bowman's usually one of those drivers that sticks around on the track. He's got consistent top 10 finishes. But a guy that's consistently in the top 5 that's still available is Christopher Bell. I feel like if that drops to me, the next 3 tracks, Nashville, Michigan, and of course Mexico City, I wouldn't be missing out a ton. Maybe Mexico City, you could argue, but I don't know. I feel like Suarez will end up winning it anyways because you know that's how it will go. But yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go with. And also, this will be the first race on Amazon Prime.
That's right. Just to quickly recap our points, I didn't do it for the other 2 series, but Cup's the only one I really care about. I'm still in the lead with 37 points. Cole made a big jump last weekend, winning some stages with Larson sweeping, I believe,
Yep.
with the last race. Kent is holding it down in third with 30, and Blake is at the bottom with 29 points. So interesting how one good weekend can change the course of the competition. But I did want to ask a question. Are any of you guys considering Larson with the double kind of looming?
I can't pick
I
him.
would consider if he starts the race, sure. I don't know if I like his odds of starting the race. I know what my hot take was. I'll stand by it, but I don't know how that's going to go. So, man, but he's superhuman. So as long as he doesn't spin out or anything, he's going to be fine if he gets in the race. But we'll see. I would pick him if I knew for sure he was going to start. I'll put it.
So can I say if I would if he was possible?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't pick him. He is 24th in driver averages at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
So
Blake?
No, I think you got so many good drivers you can pick. I think you can play a little chess, save it.
what about you,
Yeah.
Austin?
Heck no. No, not at all. If he didn't have the double going on, I would.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to consider him without the double. I mean, is the statistics kind of skewed with last year? Because technically he didn't get to run because he got there as soon as the rain delay happened, basically.
I don't think it's counted against him. It just takes the 2 starts,
Right.
and his average finish in those 2 starts is 19.5.
And he won
So-
one of those, right?
No, this is
That's right.
not
He won
fake.
the old gen. He won the
Yeah.
old gen. Yeah, I wouldn't pick him. I'd save him for one of the tracks coming up. I don't think he's the best at Nashville or Michigan, but I mean, he's not terrible either. But yeah, I think they're like Blake said. You got other guys that can fit in that role just as easily, and you still have a good day. So I just wanted to ask, but that's all that I've got.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up. Next race after this is another old school kind of type of track. We'll be returning to Nashville, where Joe Logano will be able to save about 10 extra 1,000 laps of fuel to win the race. Look forward to that one. And we wish you guys a happy Memorial Day. Enjoy all the racing, no matter what kind of racing that you enjoy. Make sure you're watching it, supporting it, and especially with it being the first broadcast on Amazon, you definitely want to show up in good numbers for them, because I really feel like they're going to be the future for NASCAR broadcasting. They could definitely eclipse Fox's quality for sure. I hate to say that because I love Harvick. I think Harvick does a great job. It's just the overall stickiness of the broadcast. It's not very adhesive. It feels like there's just too much going against the quality that they're trying to provide. Adios. See you guys later, and enjoy the Coke 600.